I understand English, but I can't speak well. Lena knew English. Not just knew it, she understood it profoundly. Movies without subtitles, intricate podcasts, and even fast-paced debates, she grasped every nuance. Her mind processed the complex grammar and vast vocabulary effortlessly, making sense of every single word. This deep comprehension was her secret strength, yet also her most frustrating weakness in her daily life. The irony was a constant companion, a heavy weight on her shoulders. She could read a thick English novel and appreciate its literary depth, but when a native speaker asked her a simple question, her tongue would suddenly feel like lead. The words, perfectly formed in her mind, refused to escape her lips. This phenomenon, this frustrating barrier, defined her daily day's struggle. She'd nod along, offer a tight smile, or manage a mumbled yes or no, feeling a burning desire to articulate her thoughts, to express her opinions freely. Her silence often misrepresented her intelligence and her real understanding of the language. People assumed she barely knew English, which hurt deeply. Inside, a vibrant world of English knowledge existed locked away. She knew the grammar rules, countless idioms, and complex sentence structures. But the bridge between her internal understanding and external expression remained frustratingly incomplete, causing immense personal frustration. How to remember words? She often typed into search engines late at night. She tried flashcards, memorizing lists, even writing words repeatedly. While these methods bolstered her passive vocabulary, they didn't magically unlock her speaking ability, which was her primary aspiration for true communication. She'd spend hours reviewing vocabulary, trying to ingrain new phrases into her memory. She believed if she just knew enough words, the speaking part would naturally follow. This approach, while helpful for reading, often left her more frustrated when conversation opportunities arose unexpectedly. Every new word she learned felt like a victory, a small step forward. Yet, the vast ocean of English vocabulary seemed endless, and the effort required to retain each new term was immense. She questioned if she was truly making progress toward her ultimate goal. "Why you should practice speaking," echoed the advice from every language forum. Lena knew it intellectually, but the fear of making mistakes, of sounding foolish, was a paralyzing force. Her desire for perfection often stifled any attempt at real conversational output. The fear was a tangible monster, lurking behind every potential conversation. It whispered doubts, amplified every past stumble, and convinced her that silence was safer than embarrassment. Overcoming this deep-seated anxiety became an essential part of her arduous journey. She understood the theory. Speaking builds confidence, reinforces grammar, and activates vocabulary. But putting that theory into practice felt like an insurmountable mountain. The sheer thought of uttering a full sentence in front of another person caused her heart to race. One evening, feeling particularly low, she stumbled upon an old language learning blog. It spoke of a young woman's similar struggle, a story that resonated deeply with Lena's own internal battles. This very interesting story sparked a tiny flicker of hope within her. The blog described a journey, not a sprint. It emphasized patience, consistency, and kindness to oneself. It wasn't about instant fluency, but about embracing the process of learning and growing, which was a concept Lena had not fully embraced before now. This virtual encounter felt like a personal revelation. Lena realized she wasn't alone in her daily day's struggle. Others faced similar hurdles and found ways to overcome them, which gave her the courage to reconsider her own approach to language acquisition. The blog then delved into how to practice English. It suggested starting small, speaking to herself, recording her voice, and even talking to pets. The idea was to create a low-stakes environment where mistakes didn't feel so catastrophic or embarrassing to her. She decided to try it. Her first attempt at speaking to herself felt incredibly awkward, almost silly. She whispered short sentences describing her room, her day, anything that came to mind. It felt strange but strangely liberating in a quiet, private way. How to improve your fluency was the next big question. The blog stressed consistency and varied practice methods. It wasn't just about output. It was about refining the output, making it smoother, more natural, and less hesitant in real-time conversations. Lena started recording herself. Listening back was excruciating at first. Every stutter, every awkward pause, every mispronunciation felt amplified. But over time, she began to notice subtle improvements in her rhythm and pronunciation, which was quite encouraging. She discovered the power of mimicry, listening to native speakers and then trying to imitate their intonation, speed, and pronunciation became a daily ritual. This active imitation helped bridge the gap between understanding and actual vocalization of sounds. The blog then introduced Learn English Through Stories. It suggested that engaging with narratives, rather than dry textbooks, made language learning more natural and memorable. Stories provided context and emotional connection, making vocabulary and grammar stick effortlessly. Lena started reading short stories, then longer ones focusing on comprehension but also on how sentences flowed. She found herself subconsciously absorbing sentence patterns and natural expressions, which greatly aided her overall language development strategies. She loved how stories brought words to life. Instead of isolated terms, words became characters, actions, and emotions within a compelling plot. This method made how to remember words a far more enjoyable and effective process for her personal learning. The narrative structure helped her connect new vocabulary to existing knowledge, forming stronger memory links. She realized that context was king when it came to true word retention and active recall, especially for those challenging abstract concepts. The blog also emphasized why reading is important. It wasn't just for vocabulary. Reading exposed her to diverse sentence structures, formal and informal registers, and cultural nuances. It enriched her internal English world profoundly. Reading regularly expanded her mental library of phrases and expressions. It provided constant exposure to correct grammar and natural phrasing, building an intuitive sense of what sounded right in English, which was invaluable for her speaking goals. She began to see reading not as a chore but as an essential, enjoyable part of her speaking journey. Every page turned was a step closer to fluency, a silent conversation with the language itself, deepening her understanding significantly. Then came the crucial advice. Listen and practice. The blog stressed active listening. Not just hearing but analyzing intonation, stress, and natural pauses. And then, crucially, practicing what she heard, truly engaging with the sounds. Lena started actively listening to podcasts, interviews, and even TED Talks. She'd pause frequently, repeat phrases aloud, and try to match the speaker's rhythm. This active engagement was much more impactful than passive listening alone. This combination of intense listening and immediate vocal practice started to chip away at her speaking barrier. Her tongue, once hestant, began to feel more accustomed to forming English sounds and connecting them smoothly. Slowly, painstakingly, Lena began to apply these new strategies. Her daily struggle didn't vanish overnight, but the monster of fear started to shrink, replaced by small, consistent victories and growing self-assurance in her abilities. She joined an online language exchange group, a safe space for learners. Her first few sessions were terrifying. Her voice trembled, and she still fumbled for words, but she pushed through the initial discomfort, remembering her overarching goal. Each conversation, however imperfect, was a triumph. She celebrated every successfully uttered sentence, every question asked, every thought expressed, no matter how simple. These small wins built her confidence incrementally, little by little. She started focusing less on perfection and more on communication. Getting her message across, even with errors, became the priority. This shift in mindset was pivotal for her progress, releasing the paralyzing grip of self-criticism. Why you should practice speaking became clearer than ever. It wasn't about flawlessly reciting grammar rules. It was about the dynamic, imperfect, yet exhilarating process of real human connection through language. This realization empowered her. Her vocabulary, once a static collection of words, now felt active and alive. She could recall words faster, connect them more fluidly, and adapt them to different contexts. The integration of how to remember words was finally paying off. The stories she read provided a rich tapestry of language, which she now found herself unconsciously drawing upon during conversations. She noticed her sentences sounded more natural, less translated from her native tongue, which was wonderful. Her reading habits, once solely for comprehension, now directly fed her speaking fluency. The patterns, the expressions, the flow, it all began to surface in her spoken English, making her sound more like a native speaker. The act of listen and practice transformed her pronunciation. She began to hear and produce sounds she once found challenging, like the tricky or the elusive R. Her speech became clearer, more distinct, and easier to understand. She even found herself correcting her own mistakes mid-sentence, a sign of true internalization and growing fluency. This self-correction mechanism indicated a deeper understanding of the language's nuances and rhythm. Lena's journey was not linear. There were days of frustration, moments of regression, but she remembered the very interesting story of the blogger, pushing past discouragement, knowing that persistence was key to overcoming obstacles. She learned to be patient with herself, to view mistakes as learning opportunities rather than failures. This compassionate self-talk was crucial in maintaining her motivation and preventing burnout during challenging periods. Gradually, imperceptibly at first, her fluency improved. The pauses became shorter, the vocabulary more varied, the intonation more natural. Her "how to improve your fluency" became less a goal and more a continuous, enjoyable process. Her conversations started flowing less forced, more spontaneous. The words she understood so well in her mind now found their way to her lips with increasing ease and confidence, truly breaking the previous barrier she faced. No longer was English a silent world for her. It was a bridge, connecting her to new people, new ideas, and new opportunities. Her initial daily struggle had transformed into a vibrant, communicative reality. She realized that remembering words wasn't about rote memorization alone. It was about actively using them, hearing them, reading them in context, and integrating them into her own spoken sentences, making them truly hers. The importance of speaking practice became undeniable. It wasn't just about vocabulary or grammar. It was about building muscle memory for the tongue and mind, making the act of speaking automatic and less effortful. Her daily routine now included dedicated speaking time, even if it was just talking to her reflection. This consistent, low-pressure practice was foundational to her sustained progress and increasing self-assurance. The journey of how to practice English became a joyful exploration rather than a daunting task. She experimented with different techniques, finding what worked best for her unique learning style and personality. The transformation from someone who understood English but couldn't speak well was profound. She wasn't just comprehending. She was actively participating, sharing, and connecting on a deep linguistic level. Her story became an inspiration to others who faced similar challenges. She often shared her journey, emphasizing that fluency wasn't about innate talent, but about consistent effort and overcoming fear step by step. Lena's confidence soared. She no longer shied away from English conversations, instead actively seeking them out. Her once mute understanding had blossomed into articulate, confident expression, a truly remarkable achievement. She learned that true language mastery involves all skills working in harmony: reading feeding speaking, listening and forming pronunciation, and active practice solidifying everything. It's a holistic, interconnected journey of growth. Her daily day's struggle was now a distant memory, replaced by the joy of spontaneous conversations and the ability to express her true self in English. The initial frustration had paved the way for profound personal growth. This very interesting story of Lena's perseverance showed that anyone can achieve their English-speaking goals, provided they commit to consistent, smart practice and embrace the learning process wholeheartedly. Her journey underscored why reading is important for building a vast internal language database, and listen and practice for transforming passive knowledge into active, confident communication, truly unlocking her voice. So if you understand English but can't speak well, remember Lena's story. Your voice is waiting. Practice speaking, learn English through stories, and keep going. Your fluency journey is just beginning.